Welcome back, fight fans. We're here for yet another episode of Shootin' the Shit podcast here on the Loudmouth MMA Podcast Network, as well as Combat Press and every other platform that carries the show. As usual, I'm your host, Riley Contek, here with another fantastic guest this week. But before we introduce him, of course, let us touch our sponsor real quick. We have a large following on this show in Illinois. If you are in Illinois and need any home improvement projects done around the house, kitchen, bathroom, floors, whatever you need, go to facebook.com now and go to Cornelius & Sons LLC. Raul's the guy you'll want to talk to. Like I said, he's over at my house all the time fixing stuff up. But you know, might not be able to do the deck or any outside projects as it is getting colder these days up here in Illinois. But again, if you have any indoor construction projects, basement, etc., give them a look up on Facebook. Again, that is Cornelius & Sons LLC. We will welcome in our guest today. He is a UFC and Ultimate Fighter veteran. He is the owner of a fantastic mustache. It is John Gunther. John, how are you doing today, sir?
Terrific. How about you?
I'm doing well now that you figured out how to download Skype properly.
Yeah, I'm technologically inept.
Join the club. Before you were talking to me, I was doing something for work, and I was about to throw my laptop across the living room here, so no worries on that front. So John, you know, it's been a minute since we've seen you. You know, the last fight you had was 2019, if I'm not mistaken, or was it late 2018? It was in the UFC.
Been a little bit. I tore my ACL in that Davi Ramos fight, and just been breaking myself ever since.
Well, join the club because, as most viewers know, I am recovering from a torn Achilles tendon right now, so I know how you feel.
What do they do for that?
Well, they had to go in and surgery. They had to take basically both ends of the Achilles, reattach it. So we are about a month and a half out from surgery right now, so it's a long road.
Does it heal back together, or they just stitch it and that stitching holds it?
Yeah, they basically what they do is when they reattach it, they stitch it together and then they immobilize your leg for a certain amount of time. And then, you know, eventually over time it just reconnects with the stitching, and then yeah. So I mean, I just basically started walking again in a boot this week, so it's been, like I said, it's been a long road to get back even to that. So I imagine you said you had an ACL. I'm sure that wasn't an easy road. Kind of explain how the road to recovery was with that.
Yeah, I guess that tendon doesn't grow back together, so they just drill holes and string, like they cut the patella tendon out and then just strung that back in through there, drilled holes through the bone, and just put anchors in there.
So what was the recovery like for that? 6 months or so?
Yeah, I mean, it took forever, and then I thought it was just not. They're telling you don't push it too far because it can just snap, or it can. I guess your body has to rebuild the tendon to be the right type of tendon, and they don't want it to snap, so it needs to be stretchier. So they say not to like push it. So I was always worried to push it too hard
Yeah.
because my knee was giving, like, it was just, I don't know, it didn't feel good. But I guess it was just the cartilage in there is worn away, or they scraped it out too, so I have no cartilage left. So I have all kinds of I don't know. There was a bunch of pain in there from the arthritis and stuff.
Yeah,
So
I would imagine bone rubbing together, or you know, not as much padding as there was before.
yeah, so I was being nervous about the ACL, but really it's probably been fine for a while. I just had these other issues with the joint.
For sure. Now, how long after surgery were you allowed to walk on it?
Um, like, right afterwards, they gave me all kinds of like painkillers and stuff, and I was like, oh, this isn't bad at all. I'm like walking around and stuff. But no, I mean, I shouldn't have been. That's why I was a little worried. I was like, well, maybe I tore it out, or I don't know.
Yeah,
Uh,
I think that's kind of general, the apprehension everybody has after an injury. Because even my physical therapist was saying you can walk on it right now, and I'm like, I don't know if I'm ready for that. You know, I don't want to re-hurt myself or whatever. But you know, I could definitely see where that. You want to see the scar? I could probably put it up against the camera here. I mean, let's see. I don't know.
uh,
Can you see
that's
that or?
yeah, that's huge.
Yeah, it's probably a good 3.5, 4-inch scar there right on the back of the leg, and it's still kind of healing itself. So, now before you'd hurt your knee, like you said, you were in the UFC, but you got into the UFC. You took part on the Ultimate Fighter, which apparently is coming back soon. So why don't you kind of just describe your time on the Ultimate Fighter? Was it a positive experience for you? Was it negative? And would you do it again if the opportunity arose?
Yeah, it was a ton of fun. I would definitely do it again. I mean, I applied for this next one, so maybe I'll get on there if I get lucky. We'll see.
Yeah, well, it looks like it's going to be middleweights and bantamweights as of right now. So, I mean, you would definitely have to be fighting up a couple weight classes there.
I've put on some pounds during my injury, so I think I'm okay. I think I'll be fine.
It would be interesting to see, even if you did put on a few pounds, because one of the guys who's likely going to be on there fought on the Contender Series on Tuesday, Nick Maximov, and he actually fought up to heavyweight. He took a guy that is at the heavyweight limit, and he's normally a middleweight. So, I mean, that's going
Yeah,
to be a big guy.
yeah, I think it'd be interesting. I've always wondered whether it's worthwhile cutting down to 55. Um, Sometimes I feel like the smaller guys are faster. As an amateur, I had a couple belts at 85, so it'd be interesting.
So, if you were to fight, say you start a camp today, a 6-week camp, what weight class would be ideal for you right now?
If if I had to fight in 6 weeks,
6 to 8 weeks, give or take.
oh, maybe 70. It'd be hard to make 55 in 6 weeks.
Yeah, I kind
Pretty,
of would figure that. Everyone's got the COVID-15.
yeah.
So now you did make the UFC. You went 1-1 before being let go. Obviously, you won on the finale against, I believe it was Alan Zuniga. And then, like you said, you took on Davi Ramos, and then you lost, and then that was it. So kind of explain, your time in the UFC, the 2 fights you took, and then was there a reason that you were given your walking papers after just a 1-1 record?
Yeah, I think I just signed for one fight, and then uh, it was like a one fight contract just to fight him, and then after that I guess I was free, but then I tore my ACL, so I've just been fixing, and then I finally healed up from that, and then I wrecked my motorcycle, and so I've just been healing up from injuries since then.
Gotcha. So about when was this motorcycle accident then?
Uh, I can't remember exactly. I broke my hand and some other stuff, and it's just been somewhere around whenever my ACL was getting better. Then I wrecked my motorcycle, so
Bad timing.
it's good timing. Yeah.
Really, really bad timing on your part there. So obviously, obviously the injuries have been a factor as to why you haven't been in the cage. So that kind of answered that question. We were wondering where you've been. So now that you've had your 2 fights in the UFC, what's next? Have you been in talks to possibly be doing a fight? I know it's definitely harder to find fights these days unless the promotions have some sort of either a streaming or a TV deal. Have you been in talks to possibly be taking a fight anytime soon?
No, I mean, I applied for that 85, so I'm like, hey, if that works out, that'd be fun, but I don't know if it will. And then I don't know, this bare knuckle boxing stuff looks interesting, so I've been looking at that, but we'll see.
Have you
I
been
guess I has a lot of choices.
have you been contacted by any of the bare knuckle leagues?
Yeah, some of those guys wrote me. I'm not sure what I want to do. Obviously, if I could get on this Ultimate Fighter, that'd be ideal.
Yeah, for sure. And then, I mean, yeah, keep going on the injury stories. If you ever watch that show, it's depressing. All they talk about is everyone's sob stories. If you just keep milking that one up, I got injured, and then I got in a motorcycle accident.
Yeah, I mean, I've never really been injured before this. I've been super lucky. It just all caught up to me at one time. So,
Yeah, I hear you. And then obviously the other big topic, and I believe you're in Ohio, correct?
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, right now I ran away from the cold, so I'm in Florida
Oh,
out here.
Well, that's
But
lucky. I was going to say your governor looks like he just put in order a lockdown in Ohio, but now you're in Florida. You actually have the opposite. So, this isn't just a recent topic. This goes all the way back to March and in April. How have the COVID lockdowns affected your training, and how have you been getting in the best training that you can, even through the injuries and the COVID lockdowns?
it was kind of I have to train like when I'm on the road for 3 months out of the year. I travel around the country and I shear alpacas, and so I'm just going from state to state to different gyms, and it was kind of a pain, especially like in California
Yeah.
and stuff. They're real touchy about it, but uh, honestly, Ohio is amazing. Like they were all opened up and stuff, and people were just doing like nobody really follows any of the rules or anything. Like you just walk in the stores or whatever. Nobody wears a mask or whatever. But in Florida, I thought it would be the opposite. The way it sounds, everyone talks about how yeah, but no, it's where I am in southern Florida. It's terrible. Everyone's wearing the mask. I had like I asked some gyms if I could train, and they wanted me to bring papers proving that I had like COVID. Like
Negative.
yeah, or yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, that I don't know if I'm assuming you've never had that test before, the nasal swab.
I haven't. No, I gave blood, and they said they test me for antibodies or something.
Oh yeah. Well, from what I read, antibodies actually seem to last a long time, which is a good thing. But yeah, never get the nasal swab test. It's one of the most uncomfortable. Dude, it was worse than the surgery I got. I actually hated the COVID test more than the surgery. It was horrible.
Yeah, I guess they they I did the blood thing and they said I don't have the antibodies, so I don't know if maybe that didn't have it.
Yeah,
But
what's kind of funny is that a lot of the people around my area who are very conscious about wearing masks and are very very pro lockdown or like self isolation, etc. Those seem to be the people that actually ended up getting it, and me who disregards all social norms of mask mandates and staying at your house and not going to bars and restaurants. As far as I know, if I had it, I didn't know I had it, so I don't know what that's all about.
I thought for sure I'd had it already. Like I had got sick like at the very beginning of this whole thing before they even knew what it was, and I was like, "Oh, that's definitely it," because my whole family got sick. And I was 100% I had it, but I guess I don't have the antibodies, so maybe not.
Yeah,
Or
it's so weird how that works. I mean, the funny thing is that like they don't know exactly when it came in, but in November, which they're saying it could have come as early as October or November. I was sick as a dog, but I think I just had the regular flu at that point.
yeah, I must have because I don't have the antibodies. But I treated it. I was 100% sure in my mind, so I wasn't worried at all. I was like, "Yeah, I already got this." Like I'm just the only reason I'm wearing a mask is just to humor you guys. But
Right. I have to do it to go to certain places, so I mean, I will comply there, but if it's optional, I'm not doing it. Like bars and restaurants, I do not do it. Like if I have to, of course, I'm going to wear it at the grocery store, or else I'll starve to death because they won't let me in. But
yeah. Well, like in Ohio, they'll let you walk right like nobody wears. Like after the first like couple weeks, we were like, yeah, we're done. Like people would stand like 6 feet away, and then like it was just kind of like everyone just kind of like didn't care anymore. They would just be packed up next to each other. It's kind of funny. Uh,
yeah, interesting. And all the rules are so inconsistent too. It's like, oh, you can eat outside, but it's inside of a tent. I'm like, why can't I just eat inside the restaurant? Then it's the same thing.
right.
I'm still eating in an indoor confined facility.
There's a certain amount of risk in life, and we just have to. I mean, if you're more at risk, maybe take more precautions. But for my age group and stuff, it's really
Well, that's what I've been saying since the beginning. Since the beginning, I said if you're afraid of it, stay home and lock yourself down. But unfortunately, you don't get to tell me what to do because you don't feel safe. It's my liberty to go out and do it and live my life as I do because I'm not a high risk.
yeah, and just practically, it would make sense that the faster everyone gets it, the faster. it's going to blow through, and the less chance that it's going to have wave after wave after wave. And so I think it would be safer for the high risk people to just let the young people get it as quickly as possible so that it blows through and there's less chance of it spreading.
Correct, and as a historian, I don't know any other pandemic where we've been as restrictive as this one, and this virus isn't even nearly as deadly as a lot of those other ones, like the Spanish flu and things like that. But I think Dr. Rand Paul put it best, the senator of Kentucky. He says
Okay.
the best antibodies that you have are your natural antibodies, your immune system actually fighting this thing off and developing your own antibodies, so that you don't need a vaccine unless, of course, like you said, the vaccine would go to people who are at risk, which is what they're developing right now.
Yeah, I mean it's great for people that need it. I mean, I'm not going to take it. I mean, I'm pretty low risk to get it, so I
Yeah,
don't think.
and like you said, people our age, it's just not very deadly, and it's I mean, super contagious, not very deadly. That's the bottom line.
Yeah.
All right, so let's look forward to the weekend. We'll take a look at the main event of the UFC card. This is on November 28th, Saturday, from the UFC Apex. We have a main event with heavyweights. We have Curtis Blaydes taking on Derek Lewis. Big implications seeing as the heavyweight division doesn't have a lot of top contenders outside of Francis Ngannou right now. So, John, I believe you have some knowledge of both Lewis and Blaydes. Why don't you kind of give us your thoughts on this fight? If you have a breakdown, and then if you have a prediction, go ahead and throw it our way.
Yeah, I guess I always gotta go with the wrestler if it's a wrestler versus striker. So I have to go with Blades. Uh, we saw Cormier, take Derek Lewis down pretty easily. So I would think that it'd be a similar story.
Now, do you think? I mean, we've seen Lewis. Obviously Cormier is a world class wrestler. Probably one of the top wrestlers in the sport before he retired. But we've also seen Lewis show off takedown defense against other guys. Do you think that his takedown defense is good enough against Blaydes, who, if I'm not mistaken, he was a junior college national champion or a national qualifier? Do you think his takedown defense can hold up against Blaydes?
I mean, I don't think so, but he does just like he'll just stand up out of like after he's been taken down and stuff. Like he's kind of he definitely could just stand up and he could definitely catch him with a punch. But if I had to put money on it, I think I'd go with Blade.
For sure. And for, like I said, we have a large following in Illinois, people from Illinois, maybe familiar with Blaydes because he did go to the local community college around here, Harper College. So any Illinois listeners obviously likely know what Harper is, where he was a national champion, national junior college champion. Blaydes on a 4-fight winning streak, 2 of those by knockouts, coming off a win over Volkov in the main event in June. In terms of Lewis, I don't think we've seen him in a minute. I'm going to look that up really quick. We haven't. Oh, no, he fought in August. Okay. Where he knocked out Alexei Olenek. So he himself is on a winning streak as well of 3. I'm kind of similar on your breakdown of this. I think Blaydes, in terms of wrestling, he's going to want to wrestle. He's not going to want to strike with Derek Lewis. I think Derek has a really good puncher's chance. If he catches Blaydes clean once, it doesn't take a whole lot from Lewis to knock a guy out. But I am going to agree with you on this. I do believe Blaydes will take this by decision with his wrestling, and he actually might be able to win via ground and pound. But Lewis is not an easy guy to put away. So that
Yeah,
is
Derek Lewis, why? Like he beat Francis Ngannou. Why isn't he the number one contender?
it was. I think it was just long enough
Yeah,
ago.
Cormier is that was that in between or
Well, I
I
think
can't.
when Lewis beat Ngannou, I remember I was living in a place where I lived about 3 years ago, so I know that probably I'm going to look it up right now. Between the time he beat Ngannou and now, I think was long enough. So yeah, he beat Ngannou in July of 2018, and since
Did
then
he,
he's gone 4-2 since then. Whereas Ngannou, since the loss to Derek Lewis, has not lost, and he's won 4 straight by knockout.
interesting.
So they've had kind of similar but different paths. Lewis did defeat Ngannou, which was a really boring fight, but Ngannou won 4 straight by knockout, including over Rosenstruck, Cain Velasquez, Junior Dos Santos, and Lewis has had those 2 losses mixed in. But like you said, he could be a win away from possibly getting a title fight himself.
Yeah, it's crazy.
All right, John, we really appreciate you coming on the show. This is the time I will give you the floor to whore yourself out. If you got anybody you'd like to thank, any shout outs, any sponsors, where can we find you on social media? The floor is yours. Go ahead.
Yeah, if you could just at follow me on Blind on Instagram or John the Machine Gunther on Facebook. That'd be awesome.
Perfect. And then you said you're training in Florida right now. Is there a specific gym you're training at right now?
Yeah, MMA Masters. They got a bunch of good people in there. It's awesome.
Yeah, MMA Masters, one of the bigger gyms in Florida. Very nice. So I will now whore myself out. You can catch me on social media, Facebook, Twitter, not Instagram because I'm not a girl. Also, you can find my articles on Combat Press. You can find this show on Combat Press as well as Loudmouth MMA Podcast Network. You guys know I post the show every week on Facebook and Twitter. You can also find me on MMA Intel, my website. We have prospect reports every week, scouting reports. We have rankings. We post the show there as well. It's a one-stop shop for all prospect MMA and rankings. So again, John, thank you very much for stopping on the show. It's good to catch up with you since we haven't seen you in a while. So I'm sure the fans will really be looking forward to this. So for John Gunther, I'm Riley Contact saying continue watching the fights, continue watching the show. Go fuck yourselves. Good night.